Hi and welcome to Cheekyricho Cooking's fish cakes made in the Pie Maker. Got a few recipe requests for the Pie Maker lately, and if you haven't seen my jam donut recipe, you probably should go and check that out because that is beyond delicious. But today we're going to be making the fish cakes. Now, very economical, very easy to do. Make ahead of time if you like, and then you just cook them when you're ready. You can also take them on a picnic. They're delicious, hot, warm or cold. And we have started off the recipe by getting some baking paper strips. So that's just the width of a roll of baking paper, cut into 1-inch strips and then cut into halves. Now the reason that we're doing that, and I'll show you that before we end up firing up the Pie Maker because it'll be too hot then, is we're going to make a cross in the bottom of the Pie Maker. So just sit it in there like that. We're going to grease it as well anyway, and we're going to turn it like so. Put our filling in there, and that way we'll be able to turn it over. So if it doesn't hold together too well, those papers will help you turn it over. If you don't need to turn it over, if you're happy enough with the colour on the top and whatnot, they'll also assist with lifting them out because you just pick them up like so. That's the first thing. Alright, so they've been made. We'll put them to one side. There's enough there to make 4 crosses in the 4 Pie Maker holes. You can also make this recipe in a muffin tin if you don't have Pie Maker, but they're cheapest chips to buy nowadays, so well worth the investment, especially if you've got a family. Now we have got some tuna here, just cheap tuna. Try and get the dolphin friendly stuff, and a whole onion, and we've just got some mashed potato that I made extra last night. We're going to mix into all of that some freshly cracked pepper, some veggie salt, some spring onions that have just been chopped up, 2 raw eggs, and I'm using panko breadcrumbs, but about a cup of breadcrumbs will help bind it all together. And we're going to mix that all together, form it into little balls, and just pop them straight into our Pie Maker. Now you're going to have to get your hands dirty for this, so just start it all off. Some garlic as well. We've just got a couple of cloves of garlic there. You could put coriander, basil, ginger, anything you like into this. And I will turn my Pie Maker on and get those little strips of paper in there so that we can just pop them in, and we wash your hands in between times and we don't have too much waste. And we can mix it all together. The eggs, the mashed potato, and those breadcrumbs are going to bind these into a very, very economical, tasty dish. You can put corn in it, you can put peas in it, you can put whatever you want in it really, but this is just fish cakes at this stage. And you can have a nice dipping sauce, have it with some chips or just crusty salad, just have them on their own, smooshed onto a bread roll if you want. Okay, now putting our papers over like so. You might find you only need to use 2 papers, 1 paper in each instead of 2 papers, but that's okay. And I'm going to just spray this now with some, you could brush it with butter if you like, but I'm just going to spray it with some cooking spray so they release. And just mix this all up. Okay, the Pie Maker's turned on now, and this is what you should have. We've got some quite chunky looking patties there. You don't need to roll these in breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs will probably burn anyway. They won't inside the mix. And then just pop them in like so and press them down. Okay, so you're looking at about halfway between a golf ball and a tennis ball. And just push those in like so. Pie Maker's on, so they'll be heating very, very shortly. Press them together well. You don't want any air in there. Before we close the lid, we are going to spray the lid as well so that it doesn't stick to the lid. Now don't put any cheese or anything in this because it definitely will stick. And lucky last. Okay, give our lid a light spray with our cooking spray. You could brush with butter if you like as well. Now these aren't going to rise at all, there's no reason for them to. And just shut the lid and wait till they're nice and golden and they actually smell cooked, and they will be absolutely divine. Okay, these have been cooking for about 5 minutes now, and what we're going to do now is turn them over. Now, they're quite soft, so work out which is the bottom piece of paper, and we're going to take our little patties out, just sit them on top of each other, put our paper back in and turn it over. You see how easy it is to get those out? Just lift that off there. It's quite cooked on the bottom, but as you can see, not on the top. So just turn them over and push them back in there, and do the same with the rest, and you'll end up having them browned all over then. Now I've worked out if you lift them out onto your spatula in the wayward bits, pull them off and put them on the top because you don't want them to cook unevenly. And just turn this over and you see they're nice and brown on the bottom. Now these are going to be a soft fish cake because they are baked, they're not fried, but they are also going to be lovely and moist, and you can have them with your favourite dipping sauce. Pull them out like so. Turn your paper over, being very careful not to burn yourself here. I don't want to be responsible for someone hurting themselves. And just pop it back inside like so. And the lid back down on again. Another 5 minutes or so and they're going to be done. We're going to keep them warm and we're going to cook the rest of them. I've taken the liberty of forming others into our little balls while you were having a toilet break or wherever you go when I'm cooking. And these ones are going to be cooked and kept in a hot plate while the other ones are cooking. Now after a further 5 minutes, this is what you should have. The onion is quite soft. It's not burnt at all. It smells great. It hasn't been fried. It hasn't been egg and breadcrumbs and flour and all that mess that you make. And you have to agree they are ridiculously simple. Now it's simply a matter of lifting them out, pushing them off their paper and putting the paper back. This is reusable. And when they cool off a little, I can probably show you now, this is what they look like all over. So they're set, but they're not really dry, and there's big chunks of fish and big chunks of vegetables in there, so they really look quite rustic and homemade, and they have a gorgeous taste. Now don't put any little chunks of vegetables back in there because they will probably burn, and that's all you have to do. Just bloop. Oh, get back you. Put the air conditioner on here at the moment and it's making the fan blowing the papers away. And on to the next batch. 5 minutes, turn them over and repeat for the last couple. I didn't have enough here to make 12, but you could portion it yourself if you wanted to make the even dozen. And look, don't they look pretty? They're very hot though. Okay, after 5 minutes we flipped a couple over, and this is the way I found it to be most successful. Just flip it over onto your spatula. You don't even have to touch anything or you won't burn yourself. Pop your papers, which aren't warm at all, back in there and then drop it back in. And do the same with the other one. And they're quite firm. You'll actually be able to slice these when they're cooked. The paper's being a bit difficult. Another couple of minutes and they're done. And you can see these ones that have cooled down a little bit. They're really quite intact. You see the big chunks of meat and the whole spring onion slices and everything in there, the onions and whatnot. They're actually really very nice. And the lucky last two are going to go on now. We won't bother about getting all of these papers back in there because we're only going to be using 2 of them. So fish those out, pop those back in there. They seem to be the better of the 4 papers. That one there and that one there. And you can cook between 1 and 4 pies in this pie maker, so even if you do only have a 1-person batch that you're trying to make, no problems, just cook one, just leave the other 2 empty or the other 3 empty or whatever. And that is a very handy little tip for removing your food from the pie maker if you're worried about it not holding together and you don't have any pastry for it. Just close those down and check those out. Aren't they gorgeous? Have those with a little bit of salad, wedge of lime, maybe some dipping sauce with some sweet chili sauce or something like that. Perfect. Thanks for watching. Okay, let's see what these goobers look like inside, shall we? Just cut into one. It's crispy on the outside. I'm going to pick it up so I can show you what it looks like inside. You can see the big pieces of fish and the onion and the spring onions there. It's lovely and soft, but still holding together well. Very hot. Have a little taste, shall we? I love fish cakes. So economical, tasty. Kids love them. They're healthy and they taste great too. Let's check this out. There's big chunks of fish in there. Chunks of onion. It's just screaming homemade, isn't it? Tastes great. Really cheap can of tuna turns into a lovely feast. Thanks for watching.